Well, I don't think servers are ever going to come back up. So in the meantime, let's go over a Gambit key that I ran last night with my group. What's going on, guys? Shah here, and today we're going to just go over this Gambit that we ran. It's a 23. I've talked about Gambit in the past. This is a slightly different route than that video that I posted. My group has, I think, like 3 or 4 routes through this place, depending on the week, depending on the affixes. So today I'm going to just kind of talk about what we did. We're running a very, what I would call a meta comp. We have the Serve Hunter, we have the Destrolock, we have a Frost Mage, a Necro Frost Mage, plus a Holy Priest, which is something that we don't typically run with. We typically are running like Resto Druid, but this is just a pretty good key, and I kind of want to point out some specific things that we do in this key that actually worked out pretty well. It wasn't a perfect key. We had an issue going to the first boss of the Woe Skip. We had 2 deaths like almost back to back on that, just because of, I'll point it out when we get there. And then on the last boss we had three deaths because we just like for some reason shit the bed. I forgot how to press buttons. Our priest forgot how to press buttons, and we just like almost wiped. We recovered it, and we finished the key with I think 3 minutes left. I want to point out just a couple quick things though. Coming up, I have my 0 to Hero episode 3 coming out in the next day or 2, and then I also have a very interesting, I think it's interesting, video talking about DPS that aren't considered meta, so like what you see here, but I would still take to a key because they offer a good toolkit, and if it's played well, they just bring like a lot of damage and stuff. So I'm going to be covering 3 cool specializations, class specializations in that video. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to hit that sub button below. But we're going to dive right in. So this pull, because of Bolstering Week, we're going to keep this smaller. On Tyrannical Weeks, more often than not, I end up pulling way more than this. We pull like Goliath plus another pack. But with this, we are just going to pull the 3 packs right off to the left-hand side, right when you jump down. We're making sure that we're kicking the Water Bolt cast when we can. We're watching out for the Pufferfish. We're obviously watching Explosive Week, or Explosives this week because of that affix. And we're making sure that we're focusing down the Scalebinder. Bolstering on this week as well. Not all of the Murlocs bolster, but the larger ones do. So you got your Fishmancers, you have your Wave Jumpers, you have your Scalebinders. Those mobs will bolster, so you just want to be careful. We also lusted the first pull, which some groups opt in to do because the first boss, because of the way that the phasing works, you have like kind of these breaks, so you can hold the phase when you get to the first boss to like make sure you have CDs up and stuff like that. So because of the control you have on the first boss, it's not necessarily a place where you want lust. Also, we think that lust on the dragon boss is going to be more beneficial because that is a fight that gets very hectic if just there's any type of errors. Even if the tank plays well and the DPS play well on the second boss, there's still a lot of mistakes that can happen. So the patrol eventually came in here. We ended up just pulling it in. It didn't pull the Goliath, luckily, and we killed the buff, or the relic here for the CDR, because we're going to do a couple more Murloc pulls before going to the first boss. So following that, we're going to the coastline, because or into the coast. Is that even the right way to say that? We're going up towards the cliffside to pull a couple of these packs. The reason we're doubling this up is because there's still only 1 Scalebinder, which means we don't actually need to coordinate a ton of CC. We just need 1 AoE interrupt, or we need someone targeting the Scalebinder. We have a chance to automatically stun it with like the Infernals that are coming down, but we also have things like Intimidate from our Hunter, that single target stun, and we also have things like Typhoon or Roar, in-cap Roar from the Druid, myself. Pretty easy pull. Just want to make sure we're kicking Water Bolts and Soothing when possible. Some of these mobs aren't too scary. I end up soothing this one though, the Wave Jumper, because if a bolstered mob is empowered and they leap, or the Skull Crusher does a tank buster, or the leap happens on your ally from the Wave Jumper, it can cause some serious damage despite it not being a fortified week. So we're just making sure that we're doing that. And now we've cleared enough trash, so we're going to head back to the shore to continue clearing along the beach. Each of these packs now we're going to have 1 Scalebinder, so we just want to keep that in mind. What I'll typically do is I'll pull this pack with the next one, but because of Bolstering Week, we want to make sure that we have this first fish stick under control, but because mobs are already now going to be at like 70-60% health, chaining would be kind of a mistake. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take it nice and slow through here. This is a key that on a 23 you can easily 2-chest, and my group has 2 chested 23s before. This is just a fairly unique week, and it's like Monday night. We're just trying to roll up any 23 keys to see if we can get maybe a good 24 or 25 to get ready for this week that we're now going to be in, which is the bursting storming. Yeah, I think it's bursting storming. So next pull, it's going to pretty much be the same thing. We're kicking the Fishmancer. We're watching out for these fish stick casts, which we're going to use Roar for right there. And yeah, just cleave it down nice and even. This comp brings some nasty damage. If you look at the details meters, we're just like constantly sustaining like 40k. All these classes are stupid strong. If you're starting to push keys like this in this area, it's really difficult to get by without having at least one of these, I would say 2 classes. Frost Mage is good, but it's not like, I don't think it's broken. We got an Intimidate there, and we got a, I don't even know what we hit with the second one. We've interrupted both though. It might have been Destrolock stun. But this pull is scary because it has 2 Scalebinders. I'm pulling away from the relics because we want to get Woe, but sometimes if you pull it in early and you miss a fish stick, sometimes the pulls will last too long, or you won't even kill Woe just because of just like the cleave and, you know, the RNG of crits. That I now keep this relic pack out until we're ready to pull it in when everything's kind of under control. 1 fish stick gets off over here, but it's only a 25-yard range if I'm not mistaken. So you can actually just pull the mobs out of the range, and as soon as the Scalebinder does die, the fish stick will disappear that it spawned. Next, we're pulling Woe. The Woe skip here is a fairly common strategy that we've seen. Some groups like to kill the very first Woe in the dungeon and then skip all the way to boss. We like to clear up most of the trash at the start of the dungeon before having to run back. And the reason for this is it allows us to commit a Lust to larger Murloc pulls right off the rip, which gives us access to 2 more Lusts throughout the dungeon. If you're holding Lust all the way to first boss, more than likely you're only going to get 1 additional Lust, and having that access to that extra Lust is huge. Alright, so Woe goes down. We're going to skip. So our priest here, when we get to the second set of mobs, pops Angelic Feather right here and pulls. What an idiot. Zach P, if you're watching this is so funny to watch. Explosive spawns, we LOS it, except our Warlock, and we are going to have him release get rid of the Angel Spirit, and we're going to get a quick res. So yeah, when you're running through here, there's no reason to cast anything. You also want to be careful of auras, so if you're a tank Immo Aura from a DH or Rushing Jade Wind from a Brewmaster, if you're running that talent, you want to be careful of those auras. What a fucking idiot. Priest dies. The reason why is because we rezzed him and then went in, and he didn't top himself because he was trying to get damage out with, I think with Boon. I think, maybe not. I don't know. He has Boon available. He pops Boon and dies. Oh, what an idiot. So he wasted the Boon there. That purifying, the purifying burst is what causes that damage. At the same time, he does like that, he hits the tank and it will cleave onto like 2 or 3 or 2 other players. Mob spawn, this first set there will only be 1 mob spawn set, so there will be 2 mobs, but then after intermission we're going to get 2 mob sets, so 2 pairs of 2. Typically what you want to do is you want to assign kicks because those bolts will kill people. I'm going to pick up the red relic, I'm going to hit the council, and then I'm going to use this weak aura to assign, but at the same time in Discord I'm also announcing what relics are like in the order that they spawn, so we can actually quickly get through this phase. We do both just to be sure, because sometimes you might mishear it or just not be paying attention and it's easier to read. If you look down here in the corner, it says like orange, purple, yellow, blue. That is the position that they're in the room. So really useful weak aura. I'm going to eventually do a boss guide on this, I think, because it's going to be a dungeon going into 9.2.5, or Season 4, I should say, because the patch is coming out today. That's why servers still aren't available. When these mobs spawn, you want to try to get them towards the boss so you can cleave. They do this in Power Defense, and once it's about to finish casting and you use an interrupt or like a stun or some type of CC, they'll typically follow that cast with the bolt, which is kickable, and then after you kick them, they'll try to channel again. So the rule that my group typically has here is if you stun that mob, you should kick it. And if you use like an AoE CC like Roar or like Shadow Fury, call out which kick you're going to do. So in this case, I said I'm going to kick Star. So it's channeling, I roar, it starts casting, I kick. I try to aim the frontal towards the council because not a lot of players typically will run over there. We hit intermission again, and I click council, I pick up the red rune, and we go purple, yellow, red, blue. I send it to chat, and then I start making my way over to the rune. Now this is the intermission where you can actually, if you needed defensive cooldowns in a higher key, or you need damage cooldowns back to try to burn, just stop doing damage, right? You can literally sit here, and you can probably sit here for, I haven't actually tested how long you could sit here for, but it's like close to a minute. So if your healer needs mana, or you need a defensive cooldown because the last purifying burst just fucking nuked your group, just hold damage, or don't put the runes in yet, or the sockets. So once again, we're trying to get these groups stacked. This is why Blood DK is so strong, man. Like having just grips, fucking stupid. I hate Blood DKs. Blood DK mains could go die in a hole. I play Blood DK, and I could play it, but I would be bad at it. I don't think there's anything outside of that. There's just one last thing I want to talk about towards the end. Be careful if you're a melee DPS or a DPS. Like she blinked, our mage blinked in front where the frontal was being faced, and had to quickly change direction. Just be aware of where the boss is facing. We're trying to get these mobs in. I set focus to star. I say I'm gonna interrupt star. I kick it, and then it's gonna start its empowered defense again. So this is gonna be our last set. You can let these channels kind of go if you need to. If you don't have any kicks, it's always a good idea. So we're going blue, orange, yellow, purple. We're sending it. We're going to our mark. And at the same time, if there are ads left up, what they're doing is they're blocking you from putting in the relic. So you have to kill the mob. They don't do anything. They prevent you from doing it. So you have time. You can hit them. You can use them to build the resources, whatever that might be. Now, here's where it gets interesting, is that the boss is sub 15%. We know that less than a mil means that we can probably tunnel. So when the first ad set spawns, what we're going to do is we're going to hard CC so we don't have to worry about kicks, so we don't have to worry about the DR that it provides to the boss, and we're going to go for the kill. So ad spawn now on whenever the tank does his frontal, ad spawn. It's just a no for tanks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to target star here. I'm going to get a mass root. We get a polymorph on orange, and then we frozen trap the purifier here. Easy peasy. And then we're just going to tunnel boss. Now, this is only if you're calling for a tunnel, and it just allows you to actually just focus damage instead of having to worry about stuns and kicks and then the DR. So yeah, that's the first boss in a nutshell. I know I like just stammered over my words a lot there, but that's all right. Cool little thing is there is this curved line here that comes out at the intersection. Right where I'm standing is where this guy summons the portal. So if you're lazy like me, you can just stand there and then it'll push you through right away. This is a pull that I see a lot of groups either skip this deck hand or they're very wary of this pull because there's a lot of magic damage. So the big thing here is getting kicks. I also have Incarn available, which is something that I made sure on the last boss that I held towards the end so I can have it up here. We're going to pull everything together. I'm going to set focus at one of the Tide Sages. Brackish Bolt is what you're interrupting. And we're popping all of our cooldowns. We're going to probably pop a potion. I don't remember if I did it mid-pull or if I did it at all. But Agility Pot here is big. There it is. That was the Agility Pot. And just making sure that we're getting kicks. We're focusing and then you have to just be careful of the tidal bursts and of course the slime if you're going for here. I don't think a lot of groups go anything else. Some groups might do MDI is different, but some groups might try to do Vi. I don't honestly know. I think if you don't do you're dumb. Pack goes down really fucking clean. If you ever decide to kite there as a tank, just be careful of haymakers, or make sure your melee DPS are wary of that ability, because if you're not in range, they're going to haymaker one of your friends. So once again, setting focus to Tide Sage to make sure that we're kicking that brackish bolt. We're kicking right away. We're handling explosives. And our priest, I think, was in Boone here, so he asked for me to help with explosive orbs. So I'm helping out, and we're just making sure that we're kicking those, Tide Sages. These pulls are pretty simple. Brackish bolts are what melts tanks. Tidal bursts are avoidable, so if you kick them, you're trolling, right? Because it's a little annoying because you have to move, but if your tank gets one shot by a brackish bolt, especially in like higher fort keys, I mean the keys per tank dies, keys dead. And then the deckhands and stuff do physical damage and they do like their sword toss, but at the end of the day, they're nothing too crazy. The damage is more sporadic and it's physical damage, so like to a tank it's not going to matter as much. So once again, focusing Tide Sage, and we're going through our kick rotation. This is pretty standard. I don't feel like I need to walk through this too much. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to talk about. If you can soothe. Hunters, great at this. Druids can also do this. So if you're running with a Resto Druid, if you are a Guardian Druid, you can do this. Rogues have Shiv. I think it's 20 seconds though. But yeah, it's the deckhands that enrage. They do super seasoning. My Well-Honed Instincts procs there, so I'm sitting. And then we're going to go to the next pull. This one has 2 Tide Sages, so you want to be a little bit more aggressive. So I'm actually going to end up popping actual Incarn here. It would be good to use on boss, but my guess is like I have Incarn here. By the time we kill this pull, it's going to be 20, 30, 40 seconds. Boss will definitely probably last more than 2.5 minutes, and we'll get so I'll have Incarn towards the end of the fight if it gets hectic. The big thing with Incarn is you just want to use it aggressively, because if you sit on it, eventually you're going to get to the point where now you have 1 less Incarn in the key, and Incarn is such a big source of damage. You can see me on the meters right now. I'm doing 33k on 4 targets. That's pretty big. Most tanks can't do that. Also, most tanks have better sustained damage over the course of a key, but Guardian Druids have this like super like your peaks and your valleys. So I'm going to move him back a little bit because I didn't like how he moved a little forward on spawn. We're going to kill I see that I have about an 80k window on Hooktail, so I'm going to taunt first. Now that I got a taunt on I'm making sure that I'm on Hooktail again. We're lining up that first blast to clear 4. I'll wind that up a second just so you guys can see. So if you face him, kind of his tail, or the way that the body is along the shore, you can actually hit both groups. And as long as your group members are kind of like in this position here, they'll all fixate down the length of this beam. You can CC if you want, but this first set you could typically do just without any CC at all. We move out of the way, blast, perfect, clean. After this happens, melee want to bait on gold pile. The bait allows for swirls to spawn out towards the edge of the room, so the melee and the tank have room here to bait the infinite breath, and bait adds. We get a second set, clean, binding shot's going to go down here from our hunter, and the next breath I know is going to take out this brute. Binding shot, stupid powerful. We also have access to polymorph. We have fear, shadow fury, Ursol's vortex, mind control, another fear from lock. We have so much CC in this group. There should never be an issue. This is a fake one. If you clear all the ads up to this point, this infinite breath 4 is fake. And then we're going to go into a double time into another infinite breath. It's always safe to aim infinite breath at the boat, but if you know that there's no ads, if you're like comfortable with the way that the rotation works throughout the fight, you'll know which ones are fake and which ones aren't. It's typically going to be like 4 and I think 7 or 8. Here I'm going to mass root far. We're going to hit close with breath. A lot of people disagree with my strat on this fight, but I've had very good luck and I've done this on all 5 of my tanks. The warrior I'm still learning. So that mass root's still in place. We're going to aim the infinite breath over there. Holy shit. Gonna get a typhoon. Now, unfortunately, there is one brute way off in Africa. We should be getting a poly here onto this guy, but we were super slow at it. And somehow this brute missed. Wait, one sec. How did that happen? I might have moved the last second. Oh, look at this. Look at that. He's on the edge. Man, Blizzard needs to fix this. This is where this fight went a little south. We had a poly, so I knew we were good there. Now, these mobs were nerfed recently. I decided to commit to the one that was polyed, and then that one we are going to just cleave down. They reduce like the health they have, and they reduce the damage and the movement speed, so it's actually pretty easy to just have them. If they're underneath boss, you just cleave them down. We're kiting this guy a little bit. We're going to go for mass root on far, hit close, except the problem is you can see icicles here hitting this guy from splitting ice. So the root's going to break, and then we don't use our brains. We have a lot of CC access here, but we don't use any of it. We get a poly in the frozen orb. Not great play. I'm going to try to aim it here. The polymorph patrol like walked out of it. It's so nuts. Boss is really low, so we know it's a tunnel at this point, but I know in hierarchies this can get really bad. I have access to Incarn, and we could probably kill these guys before next double time in 10 seconds. But again, boss is dead. Yeah. Pretty easy fight. So what I do is I keep the boss in the kind of like the middle of the room, and I just zigzag back and forth down the middle of the room. Some people like to bring him back to the corner, which is a common strat I've seen. A lot of people hate that I keep him in the middle, but it's a strat that works for me. I like being closer so I can land polymorphs. If the ads are fixating on range players, melee can start cleaving them earlier. There's just, I find more benefits to having him in the middle of the room compared to the back corner. But again, it's all preference. It's what your group is used to. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Now this room is, I've done tons of strats through here. For us, we were just looking to time the key. We weren't looking to chest it. None of this is going to be IO for any of us. We've timed 24s and we've been attempting 25s already. So we're just gonna take this pull by pull. I've seen groups split the middle pack that's patrolling, and you can effectively get them in. So what you can do is like you polymorph. In this case, you would polymorph and frozen trap 2 of the mobs, and then you would like pull half of the pack in, and then you would, once that pack is dead and you split, then you can pull the other 2 into the other pull. On a week like this with bolstering, not a great idea. There's just a lot of kicks as well. These unstable rifts, the reinvigorates need to be kicked or stunned in some way. Again, we have a ton of CC, so I was never really concerned about any of those getting off. And then in this pull, we're killing Ur's going to give us some nice CDR, which is just nice, and you know, it's a nice little benefit having kind of those cooldowns coming back up. And of course, mana back if needed. Our priest is full though. So now we're going to go for the Starseer, and we're going to mass root the patrol. This was mostly because we didn't have like Infernal. I don't have Incarn for another like minute and a half. I wanted cooldowns for the next pull, essentially is what I'm trying to say. Hard swap to Pulsars, dodge Drifting Star. I've also seen groups pull patrol in with this mob, also okay, but bolstering just kind of makes it sketchy if you're not prioritizing. Yeah, so it's just this dance of dodge star. I'm rerouting here. So dodge star, pulsar, dodge star, pulsar. Try to drag the Starseer onto the pulsar if possible, and we're going to get some pretty good cleave from our Serve Hunter and our Destrolock. Roots fading in 15, but we're chilling. And here again, double rifts. The 2 guys in the back cast Rift, the Ritualists, and then the Accomplices are the ones that cast Energy Slash on the tank, which at higher stacks can be very deadly. And then you have the Reinvigorates, which typically happen when mobs start to get lower, so you can hold kicks or specific stuns. So for example, I can hold my roar for when I see like 2 Invigorates or 3 Reinvigorates all come out. I can just roar, and then what that does is it puts that on its internal cooldown. The internal cooldown for all of these casts are 15 seconds. So if you have enough kicks or have enough melee kicks, it's pretty easy to just have people assigned to each marked ad. And then we're gonna have this last Starseer. I'm actually gonna skip this part because I don't think it's important. It's the same thing that we just saw. A big thing is we're making sure that we want all of our cooldowns up for the boss. Because regardless of this being like a fairly easy key, no matter if it's Fort or Tyrannical Week, Soleil is a very difficult boss. Also, I just noticed that this says Zofex, the Menagerie and Mailroom. Incredible. That's amazing. Okay, let's skip. So what we're doing here is we have, as soon as this guy dies, we're going to have 97.11. These big Starseer guys are worth 2.89. So it's going to be exactly 100%. Part of this was unintentional, part of this was not intentional. What I wanted to do here though is get Vi or depending on if we needed cooldowns for boss or if we wanted the haste and damage. And we decided to go with Vi. This is a play that we've actually never done before, up until literally this run, so it was kind of new for us to kind of figure out what we need to do here. But like we had Infernal, we have Deathborn available, we have like Res Arrow and Coordinated Assault. There we go, words are hard. So we're like, okay, we have all our cooldowns, so there's no reason to get CDR. Healer will get when we start the boss fight. So let's get Vi, let's get some haste, extra damage. It'll help us clear ads and push faster, so we can skip one of the collapsing stars. So that was kind of the ideology, and it actually worked out pretty well. It's just we shit the bed later in the fight in phase 2. And we have 3 minutes on Lust still, so that's going to come up right when we get to that second phase, which is perfect. So we're going to kill Vi, and then as soon as Vi goes down, we are going to roar and just get right over to the boss. All right, so Vi goes down. And Soleil, here we come. So most of us are gonna be popping CDs right on off the rip because we're gonna be able to use them here. Ur's gonna give us them back, and then we're gonna have them for phase 2 with Lust. Ur comes out. I'm going to shift over to the left a little bit because I have Incarn rolling. It helps me get threat on the orange marked assassin. The diamond marked assassin will then come in and I can taunt it. We're going to then make sure that we're kicking the Shuriken Blitz. That's a big one. And then the Collapsing Star, because we actually killed early. So typically what you could do is you can grab 2 debuffs here. But we end up only grabbing... We do grab 2, but ran out. So Healer's going to have a little bit of catching up to do. And then we're going to just pop these as we feel comfortable. So group's top, I'll pop one. And the boss is now at 57%. The ads on this fight actually are positioned on spawn based on how you position the boss. So how I'm facing out this way, the boss is facing me. We're going to have an ad spawn here and next to Mage. So I see Frozen Orb near here. So I'm going to move over to this assassin because I know it's going to be taking more damage away, like right away. And I'm going to target purple, which is the further ad, and taunt it. We're also going to make sure that we kick the Shuriken Blitz. Certain classes have like Ursul's Vortex. Obviously grip works really well, and then the Kyrian Spear from Warriors will grip the ads back in and interrupt the cast at the same time. So if you have those in your group, it's really, really good. And then here I'm staying in melee range. It doesn't actually matter this damage because it's going to be healed up, but I want to make sure that pets aren't dying here, and I want to make sure my melee aren't getting meleeed. So I see that everyone has, I turn on friendly nameplates. I see that they're all at a relic. I'm going to go to the one that's not occupied, and we'll quickly get into phase 2. Now, I've seen varying strategies about if you should tank the boss in the middle or on the side. The problem with taking the boss on the side of the room is that then you still have to have a player out in the center to pop Collapsing Stars. So I prefer everyone just focus and dodge these, and then we can alternate who's soaking the stars. But again, it depends on your group. I actually have a boss guide video already made for this, so if you're interested in seeing kind of a full breakdown of the fight, go check that out. It'll be linked up in the corner. So right before that Hyperlight Nova, we decided to soak 1, and then we let the giant circles expire, and then we're going to soak more. And then while this is happening, we have to dodge the energy fragmentations again. Now, this is where we shit the bed. I don't know what we were thinking, but a lot of us got hit. Our priest got hit here, and I think ended up dying. And then I got meleeed by the boss, just like insanely hard. And I also got hit by a fragmentation. So I'm calling out for a soulstone. The healer, or the warlock, soulstones himself on accident, and then finally gets it back to me, reses me. I'm trying to figure out where I am, but I don't have any arrows attached to me, so I'm really confused. And we're trying to figure out how to recover this. So I'm helping with explosives, and our mage is just over there chilling. I battle res healer, and we connect all of these relics. So that was rough. So we had 2 deaths there, but we decide now everyone's up, we're all healthy, let's lust. I have CDs popped, Hyperlight Nova comes out, we dodge, and then the rest of the fight is going to kind of just be the same rotation. I think we have 1 more death. I think our hunter dies in a little bit. This is the fight we got to, and we just like fell on our faces. It was really funny. This is one that you have to be careful about. Like, look at how close this is. That relic is really that's scary. So I'm trying to back him up, but he doesn't move when he's casting the energy fragmentation. We're just strafing left and right. We're going to get between those. And then here I got hit by another one. And then our hunter's still good. We're trying to pop, because if you wait too long, you're going to take 2 stacks right away, which is just bad for how much movement is required here, especially from a priest. Certain healers have a better time with this. And then this last one is going to expire now, which will start nuking us down again. We have to do this one more time. I'm going to look to see where people are moving to. I'm staying in melee range to make sure people aren't getting meleeed. Now this is a big one. I see a lot of people make this mistake. So our mage is way off here in this corner. Our priest is behind me in this corner. You're going to see a line connecting these 2 players. You get hit twice if you're in between the lines. So that's why you're seeing me back up a bit, to make sure that I'm not getting hit twice. I see so many people stand in the line, get hit twice, die, and they'll be like, oh, why did I die? Well, it's because you're an idiot. And then now that the boss is sub 10%, actually, I mean, sub 20, we probably could have made this call, but we are now just going to tunnel. Yeah, I got hit again. I normally don't get hit by these. That's like every player. I don't get hit. No, I get hit all the time. Our hunter took it to the face, but we're gonna tunnel. We're gonna ignore that star. We have 25 seconds now, and yeah, that's the key. 3 minutes and 1 second, 5 deaths. no loot. All right, and that's pretty much the key. I just wanted to break this down. I thought it was good. I have another route for this place, and if I get a good recording of it, I'll definitely post it again. But hope you guys learned something from this video. This is a great key. There's kind of developing routes all the time for this place. Everyone has like a different way to pull it. With a comp like this, obviously being fairly meta, you're able to make these kind of large aggressive pulls, but Bolstering Week, we had to pull back a little bit on it. So I thought this was a great way to show you that there's a little bit more conservative route to still actually make this key fairly successful. So our overalls were 18, 5, 16, and 13. Not great for how some of us normally perform in these keys, but overall pretty good run, and I was excited. So hopefully you guys learned something. Like I mentioned before, we have a few things coming up. We have our 0 to Hero challenge, which we're still doing. I'm talking about tank meta stuff, as well as just kind of mythic plus meta kind of analysis in general coming up in the next few days. So if you like that type of content, or if you enjoyed this, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me and me, myself, and I pretty much. Yeah, that's it. So again, thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.